Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to take a look at the Transformers Legacy Evolution Wave 3 Core Class Swoop. Let me know what you think of this figure in the comment section down below. Is it a pick or a pass? Let's now take a look at the figure's packaging. So here we have the packaging. Starting at the very front here, we have Transformers on the side, and open and displaying the figure in the packaging. We have the Legacy Evolution logo. We have Dinobot Swoop with an Autobot symbol. A really nice artwork shot of Swoop looking like he's about to bomb the Decepticons. There's another Legacy Evolution logo at the top as well. On the side, we have Swoop in kind of a running or flying pose with his blasters, and there is Core Class in several different languages. On the back, he transforms in 6 steps. There's a product shot of him in his robot and Pterodactyl mode. This is the 5th figure of the Dinobots in the Core Class scale in the Legacy Evolution line. There is only one more figure, and then we can actually complete the Volcanicus Mode, that being Snarl, and I'm really looking forward to that official reveal, hopefully coming very soon. And of course on this side we have half of the Legacy Evolution artwork, so if you do get another Core Class packaging like Sound Blaster, you can put both boxes together and complete the artwork. And that is pretty much it for the packaging, so let's now get into the review. Here we have Swoop in his Pterodactyl Mode. Let's start off by taking a look at the details, starting at the very front with that entire bird head, mostly done in gold, with some blue for the eyes, some red for that Autobot symbol, and some red for the entire back spike as well. Of course, the wings, really nice wingspan with the tips. There's actually some nice surface detailing. Unfortunately, they're made out of that kind of unfinished, cheap, grayish white plastic. I really don't like that, but if you do like to paint and customize your toys, this is actually a perfect opportunity to add some gold and silver and gunmetal gray. I personally don't, but if you do, of course, go right ahead. As for this entire back section, this is obviously the feet and the legs, but I do like the red striping on the sides. There's some nice silver and nut and bolt detailing with some panels on the top. And of course, if we do flip to the bottom, overall pretty well compact. We do have the arms on the side, but barely noticeable from other angles, and the head is tucked inside the beak there. We have some nice gold and some more gold for underneath the beak. So now for articulation, unfortunately the mouth or the beak cannot open or close, which is a bit unfortunate because it really helps have the figure more of an expressive, look and pose, and it just makes the figure come alive. So it's a bit unfortunate in that aspect. But as for the wings, there's actually a hinge at the base so it can move up and down. There's also a hinge at the tip or the edge of the wing, so again you can pull off some really cool flight poses with this figure. So now for the accessories. So they were actually originally supposed to look kind of like this with the unfinished whitish gray plastic, but they actually ended up painting them in a really nice glossy black, which I'm so glad they did. So he does come with 2 identical pistols that look like this, which are blast face compatible, if in case you were wondering. And this can store on the wings. So there is actually, of course, a tab and post, and there is a corresponding, of course, slot and port, and these can just store on the wing just like that, and I think that looks very, very cool in my opinion. And just grab the other one. This can tab onto the other side, and there we have the accessory storage. So let's now get down to a few quick Core Class comparisons. So here is Swoop with Thundercracker from the Legacy Evolution line. Let's now get down to a few quick Dinobot comparisons. So here he is with Slag, or Slug, whatever you would call him. Here he is with Grimlock. Here he is with his Wavemate, Core Class Scar, and his reviews coming up on the channel very, very soon. Make sure you stay tuned for that. And last but not least, here he is with Sludge. Let's now get down to one big, group photo, group comparison of all of the Dinobots. So I'm going to actually have to zoom out quite a bit. Let's try and fit them all in. I do apologize if any of them are cut off because there is quite a few of them. So Grimlock, and of course Slag or Slug. I think that looks very cool. Of course I could do much more of a dynamic pose or action pose if I had the time, but for the time being this looks pretty cool. All of them together here. Of course we have one remaining, that being Snarl, but please do let me know in the comment section below of the 5 we have so far, which one is your favorite. Let me know in the comments. Personally my favorite is Swoop. He's always been my favorite Dinobot. Just design, the character, any figure I've always just really liked, so maybe slightly biased in this situation, but I just really enjoy this figure. So let's now get down to transformation. I'm just going to put all of these off to the side for now. Of course, I'll bring them back out for a robot mode comparison, so make sure you stay tuned for that coming a little bit later in the review. So let's just take off the accessories, just kind of pop them off. These are actually quite secure. I'm just going to put these off to the side for now, like that. So for transformation, what you're going to do is actually untab the legs for the entire back. So there is tabs here and of course slots right there. So just hinge this down just like that. You can actually untab the arms. So there is tabs on the inside of the arm. There is a slot on the side of the leg. Untab the legs themselves. So there is a tab on this side and a slot on that side. Then you can actually push the entire bird head down like that. Get the robot mode head. This will also be pushed down as well. And then you can go to the back. There is a slot right there and a tab right there that will tab the wing into place. And do the same thing on the other side. So there we have Swoop in his robot mode. Let's take a look at the details. Here we have Swoop in his robot mode. Let's start off by taking a look at the details, starting at the very top with the head sculpt, some silver for the face, some blue for the eyes, and some red for the entire helmet section and the spikes sticking out the back of the head. We have some blue for the eyes for the bird beak, and of course some gold for the main bird beak and helmet or head section, and some blue for these sections here, which looks pretty cool. Unfortunately, this huge gray hinge looks pretty ugly. Would have been nice if they cast that out of the gold or painted it gold, like the same color as the bird head, because it does really stick out like a sore thumb. Your eyes are drawn to it, so it's probably one of my biggest complaints for this figure. As for, of course, the arms and shoulders, pretty plain, mostly done in that gray. We do have some nice silver for the front of the legs there and the feet, with some nice nut and bolt and panel detailing, looking pretty cool there. As for the side profile, overall pretty clean, not much kibble or anything. We have some nice red striping detailing on the side of the legs. And for the back, we do have the wings, which actually look pretty cool. You can angle them back to have more of a dynamic pose. Quite a bit of hollowness in the back of the legs, so make sure you're aware of that. And again, I do like the wings, just could have used some more paint, like some gold or silver, because as it is, they are very bland and plain. But that is pretty much it for details. As for articulation, the head can move up and down, move side to side on a very stiff ball joints. Let's move the wings out of the way. So there is, of course, a ball joint at the shoulder, can move in and out, forward, back. There is a ball joint at the elbow, so there is an elbow bend, and rotation there as well. There is a waist rotation, but it is slightly limited sometimes due to the position of the wing, and of course, the entire bird beak can sometimes get in the way. There is a kick forward, back, and of course out to the side. There is actually rotation at the top of the leg, very stiff, and there is a very, very good knee bend for you. And unfortunately, there is no ankle pivot, which I really think probably an ankle pivot and a wrist rotation should be kind of a common thing on a core class figure, because quite a few of them have had them in the past, but not a deal breaker. I still really do like this figure. Definitely one of my favorites of the core class Dinobots so far, if not my favorites. But now for the accessories, I did briefly show them off earlier. We have the two identical pistols, which can be stored in his hands, which again are Blastovic piece compatible, so you can just plug them in right there. And you can dual wield them, which I think looks very, very cool. You can pull off some really nice poses. Of course, right now, a bit of lack of time, but I'm just going to kind of put them in neutral pose. But that looks cool either way. But now for some core class comparisons. Here he is with his wavemate Scar. And height-wise, pretty much the same. Really, of course, this one's much more big and bulky, as you can see. But from a height, of course, they're pretty much the same thing. But let's now get down to a big group shot or group comparison of all of the Dinobots. So I'm going to try and squeeze them all in as best I can. So here he is, of course, with the other ones, Slag or Slug, Grimlock, and last but not least, Sludge. And there we have them all. That looks really cool lined up. And again, which one is your favorite? Let me know in the comments. Let's now get down to reverse transformation. So I'm just going to put these all off to the side like that. So you're going to remove the accessories just like that and take these off to the side. Then what you're going to do is actually hinge the head all the way up like that. So then you can get the bird beak, do the same, hinge this up like that. Go to the back, you can actually unfold the wings, so there is a tab and a slot right there. Just kind of hinge these back just to get some more clearance for the other steps. Then what you're going to do is actually tab the legs together, and there is two tabs here and two slots right there. So just hinge this up, and that will tab into place just like that. And then you can, of course, go to the arms. There is a slot right there, and there is a tab on the inside of the arm, and that will tab into place. And of course, there we have the reverse transformation. Let's now get down to the combined form. So now for transformation to the combined form, Swoop actually forms one of the arms. So let's now get into it. So what you want to do is get the legs. You're actually going to untab this, just fold them out just like that. Then you can separate the arms from the legs. You're actually going to rotate out the way so you can then get this post, bring this all the way up. This is actually the connection from the arm to the main body of the combiner. Then there is tabs and of course slots on the inside of the arm. These will just plug into place just like that. Then you can rotate around. You're going to tab the wings into place. So there is of course a slot right there and a tab right there. It's just going to tab into place just like that. As for the last step, you're actually going to bring in his accessories. This actually forms the hands. So there is of course tabs here and of course corresponding slots on the other side. So I'll just tab into place and this forms the hands. There is two slots there and there is tabs right there. and that's just going to tab into place just like that. So of course, let's now bring in the other Dinobots, a part of this kind of collection. So there is this huge post right here, and there is a port right there, and that's just going to plug into place just like that. So there we have Swoop attached to the combiner so far. Of course, I'm not going to go into that much depth of Volcanicus because I do want to do an entire separate video covering Volcanicus once we have the final part of this combiner, that being Snarl. But so far, this actually looks really cool. I'm kind of surprised it's actually even standing with only one leg, but this looks very, very cool. Of course, quite chunky. There's quite a bit of kibble and, you know, stuff going on, but it looks pretty cool. I think so far, I'm quite happy. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to display these Dinobots. Actually, let me know in the comment section down below. Are you going to display the Dinobots in the combined form or in their separated figures? I'm actually really interested to know. I'm a bit unsure at the moment for myself, but they look very, very cool. And again, stay tuned for Scar's, of course, separate review, and I'll show how he transforms and, of course, connects to this combiner as well. And that is pretty much it. So let's now get down to the final thoughts. So now for the final thoughts for the Transformers Legacy Evolution Wave 3 Core Class Swoop. I think overall this figure is pretty good. This is definitely my favorite Core Class Dinobot of all of them so far. Of course, Snarl could change my mind. He's the last one left, and I'm pretty looking forward to his official release. I don't think he'll change my mind because Swoop has always been my favorite Dinobot, so kind of a biased opinion, of course, but I just always have really liked his design. So for the robot mode, I actually really do like it. Love the huge bird beak on his entire chest and pretty much crotch section. Not a big fan of the huge exposed hinge there. Really would have been nice if they had painted that gold or kind of a yellow, or actually cast it out of that same gold plastic they use for the bird beak, because it does, again, really stick out like a sore thumb. But I do like the wings. I really do like how you can angle them back. You can pull off some really nice dynamic poses, and you know, have some really cool flight poses. If you have a flight stand, it really helps with that. It's pretty fun to have poses and take pictures of this figure. His accessories I actually do quite like. It comes with two simple, you know, plain pistols. I'm actually really glad they're cast or kind of painted at this glossy black. They originally were supposed to be this unfinished, cheap, you know, whitish gray plastic, but they ended up changing them to the glossy black, which I think looks much, much better. The wings definitely could have used more paints, like maybe some gold or silver, some criminal gray, maybe red. Really would have made a world of difference, because it's really the area that kind of catches your eye, other than, of course, the unpainted hinge. It's just so plain and bland. But again, I do like the wings and, of course, all their really nice surface detailing. As for the rest of the figure, really nice head sculpt, very classic, very accurate to horse Swoop's design. The legs are pretty plain, but there is some nice red striping detailing and some silver, some nice nut and bolt detailing. Articulation is actually very, very good for this figure. I have to say, probably of the tolerances of all of the Dinobots so far, at least, of course, my copy, I have to say this one's probably the best. Quite a few of the joints are really, really tight. If you actually watch the articulation segment of this review, I was actually kind of struggling to move a few joints because some of them are just that tight. But overall, pretty good. Of course, ball joints at the shoulders and the bicep, and of course the waist rotation, typical waist rotation, and moves all the way around, completely unhindered. Sometimes the wings and the bird beak can slightly get in the way, but really, of course, doesn't stop. You just have to slightly move things out of the way. Unfortunately, there is no ankle pivot or wrist rotation, which I have to say, I think they really could have incorporated a wrist rotation, especially into this figure. I know it's not the most common thing. It's on and off with core class figures. You know, there's really no set way for articulation like Deluxes and Voyagers. You know, we kind of know what to expect by now. Core classes are kind of off and on of what we can expect or what we get. But I think for this figure specifically, we really could have gotten a wrist rotation, because there's pretty much no transformation whatsoever for both modes. For the arms, you really don't, you know, fold in the hands or fold in the arms or anything. So I really think they probably could have done that for this figure. Really would have kind of pushed it over the top. No, there is no ankle pivot, but again, that's kind of a thing we've actually gotten used to. Most core class figures do not have an ankle pivot. For transformation, it's actually pretty simple and fun. I mean, it's a core class figure, so most of them are. It's actually really fun to transform back and forth. Nothing hard, or, you know, complicated or, you know, annoying. I would say it's just a really fun minicon. As for his bro mode, I actually really do like it. Again, just really kind of my same complaints from earlier. The wings, you know, the wings are probably one of the main, you know, attributes or kind of traits a part of a bird or a pterodactyl or a dinosaur, you know, and it's just, they're unpainted and bland. They're made of that, you know, kind of cheap gray plastic. It looks very unfinished, very prototypey. So really would have been nice if there was like some gold or some silver. And like I mentioned before, if you like to custom paint your toys, this is perfect, because it's pretty much like a blank canvas for the wings. You can add all the details you want. I don't typically really custom paint mine because I'd probably ruin it, but if you do, of course, by all means, go ahead. I think that'd turn out very, very good. As for the rest of the bird mode, of course, the blasters can actually store on the wings, which looks super, super cool with the glossy black. They are also Blastoid piece compatible, so you can have them, blasting or kind of bombing the Decepticons from above, which is really, really nice. As for the combined form, the combined arm, really, I'm not going to judge it right now. It's kind of like what we did, with Minosaur, when people would review the individual, sections and segments of the combiner, like Dragstrip, you really can't judge the whole Volcanicus combiner just by one part. I know we have the majority of the combiner so far. We do have one piece left, but I'm probably going to save my thoughts for the whole combiner until it's actually finished. But the part itself, just Swoop's arm, is actually really cool. I do have to say, though, the proportions are a bit off with the arms, because, Scar is the other arm. He's super, big and bulky and beefy, and Swoop is pretty slim and slender, so it really doesn't make the most sense. I think it probably would have been better if, like, Grimlock was the other arm, because he's a bit of a more chunky, big and bulky figure, and of course, to have Scar as the other arm, I think that would make more sense. That's just my opinion. It does look a bit odd at times, but still, as an arm mode, I think it works for such a small figure. I do hope you enjoyed this review, and of course, I will see you next time.